He is among the mightiest warriors of the First Age, a rare leader of men to see the hidden city of Gondolin. But mighty as he was, capable of felling trolls and orcs alike, his life would be marked by the tragedy of his children and the curse of Morgoth. Today on Nerd of the Rings, we cover the life and travels of Hurin the Steadfast. Hurin is born in the year 441 of the First Age, in the mannish realm of Dor-lomin. He is the son of Galdor, the lord of Dor-lomin, and his wife, Hareth. His father's realm lies within the region of Hithlum, under the kingship of Fingolfin, High King of the Noldor Elves. Not only is Hurin the grandson of Hador, the namesake of the third house of the Edain, but on his mother's side, his grandfather is Halmir, the lord of the house of Haleth, the second house of the Edain. It is actually with Hareth's family that Hurin and his younger brother Huor would be raised during their childhood. Specifically, their uncle Haldir would foster the boys in his house in the forest of Brethil. When Hurin is 17 years old and Huor is 14, the brothers are serving as scouts when their company is ambushed by orcs. The brothers are separated from the rest of the company and pursued by the orcs to the ford of Brithiok. There they are saved by the intervention of the Vala Ulmo, the Lord of Waters, who shrouds them in a mist, allowing them to escape to Dimbar. There they are spotted by Thorondor, the Lord of the Great Eagles, who sends two of his brethren to retrieve the men. They fly the brothers over the encircling mountains and into the secret valley of Tumladen. Thus the brothers Hurin and Huor become the first of mortal men to set eyes upon the great elven city of Gondolin. King Turgon takes a liking to the brothers and wishes to allow them to live out their days in the hidden city. However, Hurin and his brother greatly desire to return home, for their people were faced with wars, and being mortal men, their time was short. Unlike the elves, they could not wait for distant days to face their enemies. Finally, after nearly a year in Gondolin, the brothers are allowed to leave by eagle, after swearing oaths to never reveal the location of the hidden city. In 462, Hurin's father Galdor would die in battle, leaving Hurin to succeed him as Lord of Dor-lomin. Sometime in these years after his return from Gondolin, Hurin would marry Morwen, the daughter of the Lord of Ladros. They would have two children, Túrin, born in 464, and Urwen, born in 466. Urwen is more commonly known as Lalaith, meaning laughter, for she was a happy child who brought much joy to Dor-lomin. However, when Túrin is just 5 years old and Lalaith 3, there would be an evil wind sent out from Angband, and while Túrin would recover from the plague that followed, Lalaith would not, and the laughter of Dor-lomin would die. As predicted in Gondolin, Hurin and Huor would indeed join in a great battle. The elves and men of Western Beleriand, now led by Fingon, would join a great alliance to make war upon Morgoth in 472. And just before the battle, unlooked for, Turgon would lead a great force from Gondolin, fighting alongside his brother. While the battle would hang in the balance for a time, it would ultimately turn into a massacre. This culminates in the slaying of Fingon at the hands of Gothmog, Lord of the Balrogs. Knowing they could not all hope to escape, Hurin and Huor resolved to guard Turgon's flight from the battle, for if Turgon could live and Gondolin remain hidden, Morgoth would still know fear. The men of Dor-lomin form a rear guard near the pass of Sirion, allowing the elves to escape and resolving to fight to the death. Huor is shot with a poisoned arrow to his eye and slain. Earlier in the battle, their uncle Haldir was also killed. Last of all the men of Dor-lomin, Hurin stood alone. He then cast aside his shield and seized the axe of an orc captain and wielded it two-handed. And it is sung that the axe smoked in the black blood of the troll guard of Gothmog until it withered. And each time that he slew, Hurin cried aloud, "Aure Entuluva, day shall come again." 70 times he uttered that cry. Morgoth had ordered that Hurin be taken alive, so the orcs grabbed at him, and their hands would remain clung to him, though he hewed off their arms. Finally, Hurin is buried beneath the growing pile of his vanquished foes. Then Gothmog bound Túrin and dragged him all the way to Angband. Hurin is brought before the Dark Lord himself. He is tortured and questioned for the location of Gondolin, but Hurin would not break. Then Morgoth offers to him to either go free or receive power and rank, becoming the greatest of Morgoth's captains, if he would just reveal Turgon's stronghold. Yet Hurin would not break. "Blind you are, Morgoth Bauglir, and blind shall ever be, seeing only the dark. You know not what rules the hearts of men, and if you knew, you could not give it. But a fool is he who accepts what Morgoth offers. You will first take the price, and then withhold the promise, and I should get only death if I told you what you ask." Then Morgoth laughed, and he said, "Death you may yet crave of me as a boon." Then he took Hurin to the newly built Hauth en Nirnaeth, a great mound made of the bodies and weaponry of the slain elves and men. And in one of Tolkien's greatest exchange of words, Morgoth and Hurin have a battle of wills. The Dark Lord threatening Hurin's house and people, and the mortal man firing back, saying that no matter what, he will not find out the secrets of Gondolin. Morgoth, overcome with anger, breaks a sword in front of Hurin, cutting his face, yet Hurin did not flinch. Morgoth changes his approach, declaring himself the Elder King and mightiest of the Valar and master of the world. But the mortal man answered the fallen Vala, "Do you forget to whom you speak? Such things you spoke long ago to our fathers, but we escaped from your shadow, and now we have knowledge of you. For we have looked on the faces that have seen the light, and heard the voices that have spoken with Manwë. Before Arda you were, but others also, and you did not make it. Neither are you the most mighty, for you have spent your strength upon yourself, and wasted it in your own emptiness. No more are you now than an escaped thrall of the Valar, and their chain still awaits you." Hurin remains defiant in the face of one of the most powerful beings to ever exist. Finally, Morgoth would take him back to Thangorodrim, and sets him in a chair of stone upon a high place, from which he could see his homeland in the distance. There he is bound by the power of Morgoth, so that he could not move or even die until the Dark Lord should release him. He curses Hurin's family, declaring evil and despair shall come upon his house. For the next 28 years, Hurin is forced to witness through the vision of Morgoth the curse come upon his son Túrin, as well as his second daughter, whom he never got to meet. For when he left for battle, Morwen was pregnant with Nienor. As we discussed in my video on Túrin, time and again, the curse would bring ruin upon those around him, ultimately leading to the deaths of Túrin and Nienor. Hurin is finally released by Morgoth in the 500th year of the First Age. and the broken lord first returns to his home in Hithlum, which is still under the rule of the Easterlings. Finding none of his family there, he would travel to the encircling mountains, seeking entrance once again to Gondolin. The eagles spot Hurin, and Thorondor himself takes word to Turgon, who initially does not believe Hurin has truly come. When Thorondor says no mistake has been made, Turgon concludes that Hurin must have finally surrendered to Morgoth's will to betray the city, and he resolves to ignore the man's presence. Hurin in despair cries aloud in the wilderness, "Turgon, Turgon, remember the fen of Serek! Oh, Turgon, will you not hear in your hidden halls?" But there was no sound save the wind in the dry grasses. "Even so they hissed in Serek at the sunset," he said, and as he spoke the sun went behind the mountains of shadow, and a darkness fell about him, and the wind ceased, and there was silence in the waste. Little did he realize that Morgoth's spies would hear his words, and while Morgoth would not know the exact location, he now knew the region in which Gondolin lay. Turgon would later change his mind, sending the eagles for Hurin, but it was too late, and Hurin was gone. In his sleep one night, Hurin hears the voice of Morwen, and he feels that the voice is coming from Brethil, leading him to head south. And at last he would come to a tall stone standing near a cliff edge. He would not look at the stone, for he knew it to be the grave of his children. And there was a figure, gray and old, and he looked into the eyes of Morwen. "You have come at last," she said. "I have waited too long." "It was a dark road. I have come as I could," he answered. "But you are too late," said Morwen. "They are lost." "I know it," he said, "but you are not." But Morwen said, "Almost. I am spent. I shall go with the sun." There they would sit beside the stone in silence, and when the sun went down, Morwen would breathe her last breath. Hurin makes a grave for his wife, and marks her name upon the stone of Turin and Nienor. He then comes to the fallen realm of Nargothrond, coming across the petty dwarf Mim, who had earlier betrayed his son, as Hurin no doubt would have seen. "I am Mim, and before the proud ones came from over the sea, dwarves delved the halls of Nulukizdin. I have returned to take what is mine, for I am the last of my people." "Then you shall enjoy your inheritance no longer," said Hurin, "for I am Hurin, son of Galdor, returned out of Angband, and my son was Turin Turambar, whom you have not forgotten. And he it was that slew Glaurung the dragon, who wasted these halls where you now sit, and not unknown is it to me by whom the dragon helm of Dor-lomin was betrayed." Hurin strikes down Mim where he stands, and thus Turin and his friend Beleg are avenged. Hurin would then discover a great treasure within the halls of Nargothrond, the Nauglamir, a great necklace made by the dwarves, filled with countless gems of Valinor. He then heads east, coming to the realm of Doriath, where Turin was fostered in his youth, but ultimately had fled after a fateful encounter with a grim elf of the land. He throws the Nauglamir at the feet of King Thingol, scorning him for the ill that befell his family after being in Thingol's keeping. The king and queen take pity on Hurin, and Melian speaks to him, saying his family was long kept with honor and goodwill, and that Morgoth even now speaks through Hurin. Standing moveless for a long time, far away from Morgoth and within the protection of Melian, Hurin feels the full weight of Morgoth's curse. With reverence, he now picks up the Nauglamir, saying, receive now, Lord, the necklace of the dwarves, as a gift from one who has nothing, and as a memorial of Hurin of Dor-lomin. For now my fate is fulfilled, and the purpose of Morgoth achieved, but I am his thrall no longer." Hurin then turns away and leaves the realm, and no one knew where he went in his wandering, though it is said that he would not long live after this moment. But being bereft of all purpose and desire, he would finally come to the Western Sea and cast himself in. So ends the life of Hurin Thalion, the Steadfast, the mortal man who defied one of the Valar, whose life would be marked by unimaginable sorrow, and the man who Tolkien would call the mightiest of the warriors of mortal men. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters who make this channel possible. Tom DeBombadil19, Lissamy the Cinda, Rabbi Rob Thomas, Charles Leisure, CCDC Red Team, Joe Tepper, The Mighty Mim, Andrew Carlisle, Swirled Traveler, Matthew Jeffrey, Viking Lord, Alvin Einbert, Jeremy Daniel Derby, Madame Director, Leo Vittori, Sky Carcass, Slide Belts, Dane Ragnarsson, Berto Berg, Graham Derricott, The Dark-Haired One, Wyland, Z and N, Evely, Kia, Freya Firestar, Micah Wu, and Debbie. If you enjoyed the artwork in this video, check out the artists in the description to purchase prints of their great work for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.